Welcome to Khanversations. I'm Muqtada Khan, your host, and today I want to talk to you about a rather unusual arrangement that the Department of Justice is about to make with Gautam Adani, India's richest man, whose assets are about $104 billion. He is ranked, I think, 17th richest person in the world. And after all the damage that he suffered as a result of certain questions about his business practices by a short seller, he has recovered, and he is seen as a very close friend of Prime Minister Modi. There are lots and lots of conspiracy theories in India saying that a lot of things that Prime Minister Modi does with regards to his foreign policy ultimately end up benefiting Gautam Adani to a great extent, and so there are lots of arguments. Even the leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, has often equated that perhaps there is an unhealthy corporatist net relationship between Gautam Adani and Prime Minister Modi, and one reason that the opposition has attributed to Narendra Modi's silence in the face of multiple provocations and insults to both India and to Modi himself from President Trump in the last 1 year was because they felt that Prime Minister Modi was quiet because he was worried that the United States would take very serious punitive actions against Gautam Adani. And of course, we know that his arrest warrant was issued and the Indian Minister of Law simply refused to submit it, and the United States has struggled in reaching Gautam Adani to hold him accountable. As you are aware, that he was charged with corruption charges according to a particular law. And so today I'm going to talk to you about an article that has been published in the New York Times, which essentially says that the Department of Justice is going to drop all charges against Gautam Adani and his nephew. But this is because Gautam Adani has made a very unusual offer to the department, to the US. And so I'm going to talk about it. So this is what has happened. As you are all aware, there are charges of corruption that Gautam Adani gave bribes up to $250 million. So there are two bribes. One is bribes that he gave to basically Indian politicians, but the company that was used was an American company. So it was a company partly owned by an American company, and so Americans were implicated, and it triggered an American law. And so basically Gautam Adani and his nephew Sagar Adani and other executives, they were charged in November 2025 of giving a bribe of $250 million. But there is also another charge made that they essentially defrauded US investors because they raised money on the New York Stock Exchange. And since 2024 November, Gautam Adani has been evading the US authorities who want to question him about this matter. But now it appears that he has a new attorney, and this is where it becomes very interesting. So Gautam Adani now has a new lawyer advocating for him, whose name is Robert J. Giuffra, Giuffra, who also coincidentally happens to be the personal lawyer for President Donald Trump. So this is a very smart move by Gautam Adani. He goes ahead and essentially hires a lawyer who is also the lawyer of Donald Trump. So can you imagine that? I mean, which means that somehow indirectly it is possible that Donald Trump could have been involved in this deal. Lawyers are very close to their clients, especially when you have a client like Donald Trump, which means that you take very few other clients, and sometimes you end up becoming an exclusive lawyer to billionaires, really. But anyway, so Trump's lawyer was the one who was negotiating on behalf of Gautam Adani. Apparently, he went to the Department of Justice and made a 100-slide presentation. Oh wow, it must have taken hours. So in that 100-slide presentation, he made multiple arguments as to why the Department of Justice would fail in their efforts to indict Gautam Adani. He made examples and arguments as to why this case would not be easy for the Department of Justice to prove, and of course also arguing that Gautam Adani and his nephew are essentially innocent. Now you must understand that the particular law that the Department of Justice is using to accuse Gautam Adani and Sagar Adani of bribery is a law that Donald Trump does not like at all. So Donald Trump thinks the law essentially says that American business people cannot bribe foreign politicians to get contracts. So for example, let us say there is a contract tomorrow to build something in Kolkata. And the Chief Minister of Kolkata slightly hints that, well, I'm going to give it to anybody who gives me $100 million. Now, American business people are not allowed to do that. They cannot give that bribe. If they do that, American law will prosecute them and they could end up going to jail, if not pay hundreds of millions of dollars of fine. The fine itself would perhaps be so big that it could hurt their profits and the company's reputation, etc. So they don't compete for that kind. And Trump doesn't like that. He says, look, the Chinese businesses do bribe politicians abroad. And the CPEC project, Americans feel that a lot of the contracts that they have got is essentially by also bribing politicians. So if a politician is asking for $100 million to give a $1 billion or $10 billion contract to your company, the Americans are at a disadvantage because they're not able to bribe these corrupt politicians, and so the contracts will inevitably go to foreign companies from India or China or others where there is no such law in place. So Trump is against the law. He has done two things. When he became president right away, he ordered Pam Bondi, who was at that time the Attorney General, to do two things. He said, look, do not make any new charges based on this law. So no more new investigations. So American businesses now are more or less assured that they can continue to bribe people outside and get contracts without any fear that the Department of Justice will prosecute them. And the second thing that he did was to basically go slow or just do not proceed further with the cases that are already pending. So Gautam Adani got lucky because Donald Trump doesn't like this particular law and does not really want to enforce that law. He'll have to go through Congress in order to get this law negated or removed from the books, but that's a different process, and he has not even started that process, and perhaps he doesn't have votes for that. It's very difficult to go to Congress and say, look, we want to bribe people, so please remove this law. So what Donald Trump could do was just tell his Department of Justice, so do not prosecute. So for Gautam Adani, that was a boon, a gift, because nothing happened really in the year plus that Donald Trump has been a president, for nearly 16 months that he has been a president of the U.S. There was no progress on that case. But Gautam Adani made this, and Gautam Adani did this through a tweet on X, and then his lawyer essentially presented this to the Department of Justice, and apparently one of the persons listening there, very close to Donald Trump in the White House, showed great interest in it. New York Times did not reveal the name of the person, I think. And the offer that Gautam Adani said was basically this: if you drop this case against me, I will invest $10 billion in the United States, and that will create 15,000 jobs. He's probably going to do this in some red state that Donald Trump will choose, probably Florida or Texas, places that Donald Trump really likes. And those are states that any businessman who's investing money in the U.S. would like to do. They are very business friendly, very low on income tax. So if you want to invest millions of dollars, those are ideal states to invest in. And there's also great talent available there. We don't know what business Gautam Adani wants to do. So this is what is going to happen apparently from the New York Times article. Number one, Gautam Adani has promised to invest $10 billion and create 15,000 jobs. He should also buy a golden card, the green card or the gold card, which comes for $5 million. That's pocket change for him. So he'll become a permanent resident with a lot of privileges. I think they probably already did buy that. Anyway, so Gautam Adani will invest $10 billion in the United States, create 15,000 jobs. That's his promise. And the Department of Justice will drop all charges and the case against him for bribery. So he will be free. That's one. The second thing is there are other cases also filed against both Gautam Adani and his nephew Sagar. And those are defrauding the American investor. So by the misrepresentations that they made on the New York Stock Exchange. So the SEC is prosecuting them. So there are two cases there that SEC is prosecuting. And so this is what is going to happen. Number one is that the SEC and Treasury settlement. So this is what is going to happen. He is going to pay. There are two fines that they're going to pay. One is, I think Adani is going to pay a fine of $6 million, and his nephew is going to pay a fine of roughly 12. So a total, yes, Gautam Adani is going to pay $6 million, and Sagar Adani is going to pay $12 million to the SEC. So the total SEC penalties will be $18 million in combined from both of them. So the case will be settled. So the SEC is not dropping its charges. It is saying that you misled the stock investors and therefore you're going to pay $18 million. It is a sort of admission of guilt by the Adani family. And then there is another case against the Treasury, which will also be settled through financial penalties, but we don't know what the exact amount is. So there will be another amount of payment that could be actually in hundreds of millions of dollars perhaps. It's not very clear at the moment. So basically this is what is happening. They'll be settled. All cases will be settled against Gautam Adani. Very soon he'll be free to come to the US, etc., invest, raise money in the United States, and so on and so forth. He's going to invest $10 billion in the US. He's going to pay $18 million in fine, 12 for his nephew, 6 for himself. And there will be another financial settlement with the Treasury Department. That amount is not available at the moment, and so it's done. So the question really that I want to ask, and this is not so much about Gautam Adani as it is about the Trump administration. Even some Republicans and MAGA people acknowledge that the Trump administration is massively corrupt, and they're making the American system corrupt. What is really happening is that you're buying your freedom. So Adani is basically buying his freedom. He's paying $10 billion to get the Department of Justice to drop the case. And then he's going to pay $18 million in fines to get the SEC, the Security Exchange Commission, as well as the Treasury again to settle the cases. So basically he's going to buy his freedom. He is buying justice. Donald Trump is selling justice. And yes, I understand that Donald Trump does not like the law itself. But the law is on the books. And when he became president, he swore to uphold the U.S. Constitution and therefore these laws. So he's basically not fulfilling his duty as a president. If he does not like the law, he can always ask the Congress to change the law. But as long as the law is on the books, he should be implementing the laws. And then not to implement the laws, not because you don't have enough people to act on it, because a lot of lawyers have left the Department of Justice. It is heavily understaffed. So I can understand that they're dropping cases because they simply don't have the bandwidth to prosecute these cases. But to take money and drop, I think that is not kosher at all. This is very, very sad. I have nothing against Gautam Adani. If he has the money, well, he wants to find a way out. That's fine with him. But my beef is with the Department of Justice, which talks a big game about America first. I don't know, maybe they think that $10 billion investments from Adani is hugely advantageous to the US, and therefore they're taking the money. They'll say, what's the advantage of catching this guy and putting him in jail for a few years? And then he'll just go away and he will not invest. But this way, so yeah, we let him go, but we get $10 billion of investments and 15,000 jobs. Well, I would love to see that. I'm not very sure if that investment is going to come in and whether 15,000 jobs will be created in the United States. I'm not very optimistic about it. The promise is there. There are lots of those promises that countries have made. India also made a promise to buy $500 million or $1 billion worth of goods from the US in the next 3 years. And they haven't even signed the contract. It's about 5-6 months have passed. But the Japanese have signed contracts, and so have the South Koreans, and so have Europeans. But those investments have not come in at all. Europe has not invested anything in the US. It's supposed to be investing about $750 billion in the next 3 years in the US, according to the trade agreement, and that has not happened. So I will be very surprised if I see $10 billion from Adani coming in. Look, if it's a profitable venture, Adani will invest it either way, right? If it's a great business opportunity. Like you look and say, oh my God, I can make data centers in Texas and Florida and I can make money out of this. So great. So what's the big deal? It's a great opportunity. Invest it. You're not doing a favor to anybody by that. But to say that I will invest $10 billion and in return you drop all the charges against me, which means he's saying, I might lose the money and it may not be a very smart investment, but you know what? This is the cost of freedom, so I will pay that. And I don't know. Anyway, let's hope he does invest, and I hope that there are 15,000 jobs created in the United States. It will be a win-win for everybody. Anyway, that's all I wanted to share. I found this very, very particular. I will be coming back again at 11 o'clock, at midnight tonight to do this show in Hindi about the 5 cracks that I have found in China's economy, which are worrying Xi Jinping. There's a lot of talk about China catching up with the United States, becoming a peer competitor, and this particular summit that took place. I will be coming back and talking about that also around 11 o'clock today. That is 1 hour, 15 minutes from now. So please come back and we will talk about the summit and what happened in the summit. But until then, thank you for watching Khanversations. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. And I will see you soon. Thank you for watching. Okay, bye.